Today is Mother's Day, okay? And Mother's Day is a powerful day. It's a day where we celebrate the feminine. It's a day where we also celebrate the energy of nurturance and creativity and divine creation and evolution and just this essence of femininity. Bliss everyone, and welcome to a brand new weekly reading. Rissa Vibes here, aka Readings by Rissa. So excited to connect with you as always. Today we are tapping into a brand new week. We are covering the 9th of May all the way to the 16th of May. And this is a really powerful week because we are really starting to get into the fullness of the May energy and of that month. And we're going to talk a little bit about what that means today. And we're also going to cover all of the energy messages and spirit messages of this week, as well as the astrological influences, which we do have a new moon in Taurus in just a couple of days on Tuesday. Okay, so lots to talk about today, lots to cover. So let's go ahead and get into it. And shout out to all of you who are joining, who have seen these readings before and continue to watch them. Thank you for your love and support. I appreciate it so much. And if this is the first time you're tuning in, then thank you for tuning in and welcome to this Web of Light community that we have here, that we have developed and cultivated for the past 3 years now. And I'm so excited to really bring in more of this energy for all of you to enjoy. So let's go ahead and get into it. I always like to start with a little review of last week, so let's go into that first. Last week, for the beginning of the week, I pulled the Crucifixion card, and that was all about releasing judgment of self, judgment of others, learning how to move through the energy of judgment, and also understanding that we can release that urge to judge. We can find different ways of approaching things, and we don't have to punish ourselves or punish others for things that go wrong. We can really find compassion and grace, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that today as well, because it is very, very relevant for this week's energy. Then in the middle of the week, I pulled the Lantern card, letting us know to remember our light of consciousness and the new light of consciousness that is coming into our perspective and into our life and into our soul at this time, and to really celebrate that by leaning in to the light that we are and to the light of consciousness that we have available to us. Then at the end of the week, I pulled the Friendship card, which was just reminding us that we can lean in on our support and in friendships, and to really recognize how our friendships are shifting and how our friendship with ourselves may be, shifting, or just how the state of that friendship with ourselves is. Because we do have to be our own best friend, and we do also have to honor the friendships that we create in our lives that we can feel supported by. So how can we feel that support, right? So that was such a great reading last week. If you didn't get a chance to watch it, make sure you tune back into it, because you can always receive those messages. And sometimes if you miss a week's reading and then you feel called to a different week's reading, maybe there's a message in there that's more in alignment to what you're going through at that time. So just honor that. All right, let's go ahead and get into today's spirit messages for this week. This is going to be the energy of May 9th today, all the way until May 16th, when we meet back up right here for another weekly reading live. So first message I want to talk about, and I talked a little bit about this last week, but I want to start with this message this week because now it's really, really present this week. And that is to observe, don't obsess, okay? Observe, don't obsess. We've talked about observe, don't absorb before. We've talked about relax, don't react before, right? And so we've been feeling into these mantras and these little slogans that get us through for some time. And this one that we're in right now is to observe and don't obsess, which means look at things, pay attention to things, understand that things are present and what things are present for you in your experience and outside of it. Observe that and understand it, but don't obsess about it. Don't let it consume you. Don't let it run your life and create so much energy and magnetic pull that you can't focus on anything else, right? And that other things in your life start to suffer, or not have as much focus from you because you're obsessing about one thing or, one idea or one emotion or one behavior, right, that you're noticing, or expression in the world that you're noticing, right? So observe, don't obsess, because when we obsess about things, the education or the information that we're receiving, that we're observing, it becomes actually very toxic when we get obsessive, because then we're really cutting ourselves off from any other information, and then we're creating a really big imbalance in our input of information and output of information, and just our ability to actually process information in a balanced way. So pay attention to that, because that could really be shifting your quality of life, and you might not even be noticing it. And so pay attention to the ways your thoughts, your emotions, and your behaviors are focused in on one thing or another, and how often and how much energy you're putting to that. And if it's so much that you're not putting as much energy into other things that you were before that were keeping you happy and balanced, then that's a sign that you're obsessing, and it's time to pull back a little bit and take some time away from that so you can get back into balance and get back into your fullness of self and quality of life, because that is always the priority, especially when we need to keep our immune system up, when we need to really celebrate the fact that we are evolving despite all the craziness going on. We want to really honor the ways that we can show up for ourselves in that way, and see how we can, rebalance what has come out of balance. So please, please, please also reach out to your friends. Be a support to people that you see are in that mode that may not be seeing it within themselves, because when you're in an obsessive energy, it's very hard to tell you're in an obsessive energy because you're in it. But a lot of times our friends, our family, the people close to us, they can tell we're in that energy, and it's their service, it's a support to tell us if they see that in us, or to tell somebody if they see that in somebody else, because that's love, that's support. And even if that person doesn't want to hear it, maybe you at least planted the seed of saying, hey, like, I see that becoming a little obsessive, maybe pull back, or I see you putting a lot of energy and time into that, maybe think about trying to balance that out a little bit, and say it in a nice and loving way. Remember, no judgment, no crucifixion here in this energy. So that will really help as well, your delivery, and help the person, or you, if you're the person, kind of pull out of that a little bit more. So the next message is recognizing our limits. We have really started to be shown our limitations and our limiting thoughts and our limiting emotions and our limiting behaviors and actions. And that is a hard pill to swallow most of the time. But Spirit needs to show us that, because if it doesn't, we miss out on those valuable lessons. Because when we learn what our limits are, we actually learn what we can push past and how we can show up for ourselves in bigger ways than we ever fathomed. And that's what Spirit does. It brings us to our limits, and then it encourages us to push past them. And that is really what we're going to be feeling a lot of this week. And some of you have already probably been feeling that. And that can feel like a really deep tension, or just kind of being stretched really thin, because you don't have anything left to give, right? And it's so hard to imagine pushing past your comfort zone, or pushing past, the point of your limitation in your ability to be compassionate, or your ability to be loving, or your ability to be, self-loving, right? Or your ability to do the shadow work, right? And to go through your dark night of the soul. A lot of times we feel our limits being stretched most when we're going through something challenging, because everything when we're going through something challenging is so difficult for us, because we're suffering in our own mind and in our own heart. And we can maybe try to explain what we're feeling, but it's hard to, right? And it doesn't always really land on exactly how you're feeling. And somebody might not exactly know and understand, and so that can feel like a really limiting experience. But remember that when you can just continue to do the work, when you can continue to push yourself to show up for yourself with more love, with more compassion, with more determination for the shadow work, and to keep pressing through, when you do that, you're going to really step into a magic of recognizing your power and acknowledging your power that you never even saw until you pushed yourself past that limit, until you decided to keep going despite when you thought you couldn't, okay? And that is what we're being pushed to do. And it's not because we're being attacked by Spirit. It's not because we're being neglected or abandoned by Spirit. It's because Spirit is trying to show us what we are capable of. And since we haven't done the actions to push ourselves past our own limits to show ourselves what we're capable of, Spirit's got to do that for us so it can show us who we truly are and how amazing we truly are. So in the same breath of really recognizing our limits and being pushed past them, we are also stepping into acknowledging our power. And that is a beautiful thing this week. And so I want you all to know that as you feel these ups and downs and these heavy waves or these complicated energies and feelings, please know that on the other side of it, if you can keep pushing through, you will break through into liberation, you will break through into bliss, you will break through into peace, and you will break through into that new light of consciousness that we talked about last week that is still showing up for us this week. And when you push past that, you get to see how amazing you are, and you get to really notice that the things you thought were going to break you didn't, and you're so much stronger than you thought. So let that be that experience. Don't feel like you are consumed by the weight of limitation. Show yourself that you can push through it and just keep moving forward, and then acknowledge your power and what happens after you do and how strong you become. Okay? And this can be a loop of experience. And so just recognize that, recognize the patterns that show up, recognize how your limiting beliefs or limiting energies may, feel like a distraction to your power, and how you may kind of be feeding that loop and distraction as well, because sometimes we don't realize how we're feeding that cycle until we put our awareness on it. Okay, so notice that. And this next message, this is important. Today is Mother's Day, okay? And Mother's Day is a powerful day. It's a day where we celebrate the feminine. It's a day where we also celebrate the energy of nurturance and creativity and divine creation and evolution and just this essence of femininity and grace. Grace is a great word for it. And so shout out to all the mothers out there. Happy Mother's Day. And I also want to shout out my amazing friend Pat's Flow on Instagram. She just gave the best download yesterday that I really want to share in this reading. She was talking about how she's doing her integration spiritual bath, and she had a download about the invitation to address Mother's Day as Gaia's Day. And I thought that was such a beautiful thing, and I get chills just thinking about it and talking about it, because I did write a song called Gaia on my new album Hippie Vixen, and I just had my listening party the other night, and it was amazing, and I got to play one of my songs, which was Gaia, at the listening party, so everybody got to hear it. And this was an integration bath after that event, and just hearing her share that download was really near and dear to my heart with the song, but also with just understanding the energy of honoring Mother Earth and honoring the Mother Earth element in all of us, because there is a Mother Earth element in all of us. Our physical bodies are the earth vessel that holds our spirit on this planet that is Earth. And when we honor that energy and our mothering energy of our body, the way we can nurture our body and the way our body nurtures our spirit and protects it, then we are also celebrating Gaia's Day. And we can also celebrate Gaia's Day, Mother's Day, with honoring Mother Earth, with honoring the planet that we get to live on, that we get to call our mother for humanity. And that's such a beautiful thing. And so I really love that invitation from Patricia, to address Mother's Day today as Gaia's Day, and to talk about whatever that means for you. So I'm passing along her message today in this reading to impact more people with it, because I think it was so profound and so beautiful. And so I say to you, happy Gaia's Day to everyone, and happy Gaia's Day to Mother Gaia as well, and honor your mothering energy within you. For those of you who have mother wounds and mother trauma responses and bonds and things like that, honor the mother in you that you get to be for yourself, that your mom may not have been for you when you needed it. And not because it was her fault, but because she couldn't and she didn't know how, right? And so just honoring that and saying, okay, I know what she couldn't do. I know that she didn't know how, and I'm going to now take responsibility for myself to mother myself back to that healing place, to nurture my inner child, to mend those mother wounds, and to really work on the trauma responses and the trauma aspects, the bond aspects to the trauma that we've formed, over time. Because when you do that, then those mother wounds go away. You heal it on your own. You become the healer of your own experience. And you also get to then celebrate the mother that is within you and your own mother even more, because those wounds are healed and there's not as much resentment and just frustration and heavy energy. Okay. So shout out to all the Gaias out there. Shout out to all the mamas out there. Happy Gaia's Day. Happy Mother's Day. And just honor the mothering energy of all things. Honor the mothering love of compassion and just full unconditional love expression and patience and grace. There's something that I've noticed recently, and it's kind of upsetting to me. It breaks my heart a little bit, to be honest, because I've noticed that there's a lot of people that talk about pain and sadness and have been there for others through pain and sadness and struggle and challenge. But when they may go through something, right? When they're going through something, or when they're having a kind of similar struggle, the compassion and the unconditional love for the other person or for others outside of them fades away. And so that can be really heartbreaking. And I've felt heartbroken in seeing that in my own experiences with some people, but also other people experiencing that with other people. I've seen it as a pattern lately. And we're a conscious community. We're a spiritual community. So I can talk to you all about this and know that you can receive it. But if we can't show up in the same love and compassion for others while we're going through something as we can when we're not going through something, we need to do better. We need to do better. Because we can't talk love and light and compassion and unconditional love, and then when we are struggling, throw that all out the window and decide to be whoever we want to be today, whatever that looks like, and however that may hurt someone, or however that means you're not showing up for someone. We have to push ourselves past our limits. And that's also part of that first message. If you're going through something and you're still being called to show up, you've got to show up, and you've got to show yourself you can. And so what does that look like, right? Does that look like still being there? Does that look like still making sure that you put the time in? Does that mean giving a hug even though you're hurt? Does that mean, putting your stuff aside for a second to just hold space for someone else, and then being able to go back to your stuff because that's what they need, and that matters to you too, right? So understanding how important that is. Compassion needs to be unconditional, just as much as love should be unconditional. That does not mean that you should tolerate abuse or maltreatment or other things that are destructive to your soul and spirit. But that does mean that there should be a deliberate and mindful intention and action towards being as compassionate and loving as you can, and saying whatever you need to say, and making the actions you need to make to break away from things if you have to, but doing everything in a loving and compassionate way. I know it's hard because we've been conditioned into society to tell us that that's not acceptable and it's weak, or it's, you're gonna get walked all over, or, just the world is too harsh to feel like it's safe, right? To be that openly loving and compassionate all the time. But that is what it's gonna take for us to change that. We've got to just do it first, and push ourselves to train ourselves to do that first, and to build the muscle of unconditional compassion and unconditional love, and to learn how to put your stuff aside and to be selfless whenever you need to be, right? and to understand what that means, and to be able to communicate when you can't, and to do something to at least provide something if you care, right? If you care, you've got to show you care. And so honoring that and knowing that, yes, it's hard. We're going through our own stuff, and it can be really hard to also be there for someone else. It can be really hard to show up in the ways that you said you would or that they expect you to, but it's important to try. And so just try this week, because that's going to come up a lot in your lives, in your relationships, in your experience. And when it does, just try to push yourself past your limit of compassion. Try to push yourself past your limit of love and see if you can show up for them in the way that you know you would want them to show up for you, right? That's how we make this world a better place. We can't go back to the Matrix, right? This month's card is the Matrix card. The annual reading I did at the beginning of the year for this month's card was the Matrix card. We are literally breaking away from the Matrix. Not all of us. Some of us are choosing to lean more into it, and some of us are choosing to stay there. But a lot of us, I know I am, and I hope you are too, if that's what's calling you, are starting to break away from that 3D life, that limited energy, that egoic, greedy, limiting love, conditional compassion, receipt checking kind of energy. Like, we're breaking away from that, but in order to break away from that, we have to push ourselves past our comfort zone, because we've been comfortable in the Matrix. We've all gotten comfortable in the Matrix because we've had to adapt, we've had to survive. But we don't have to be comfortable here anymore. We have to get uncomfortable to get into the new energy, which is the 5D. And a lot of us are already almost there or already in the 5D. But some of our experiences or other people in our lives are not. And so we're having to break away from things that represent the Matrix, and we're having to break away with the thoughts, emotions, and patterns in ourselves that are limited by the Matrix. And then we get to go into the unlimited expression of 5D consciousness, New Earth consciousness, love and compassion unconditionally reigning, and bliss all over. Doesn't mean it's going to be bliss all the time, but it's going to be a lot better because it's going to be built on the right kind of foundation and structure to create the right energy. Okay? So ask yourself, where is the empathy? Can I find empathy here? Can I find a way to be compassionate here, even though I'm being triggered, or even though I'm going through something of my own? Can I find a way to support? And do that, all right? So the next message is galactic and cosmic energy. It's increasing. Contact is showing up more and more. I know that they're doing all these SpaceX satellite drone things across the states and some parts of the world. Tesla, stuff. But I'm sorry, Elon Musk stuff. Tesla, but Elon Musk is more appropriately said. That's his company, but I'm talking more him in particular with the SpaceX stuff. But I really don't know if I buy all that, y'all. Like, I do understand that there's a lot of AI out there, and I do understand that there is a lot of new things happening with the Space Force and the SpaceX stuff, and I think it's a little weird. But I also feel like they're not saying everything that they are really doing, and I feel like there's a lot of work being done with galactics already with AI, and I don't think it's really work that is good. Okay, I think they're working with the ETs that are not so good and not so excited to help humanity. These are ETs that are trying to enslave humanity, and the AI that's being done, especially by people like Elon Musk, but others as well, are really starting to show a lot of signs. And as I dive deeper, there's even more signs that there's something fishy going on. So pay attention to that. And I think our galactics, our love and light galactics, because there's, spectrum in all things, but we have so much more galactic energies and races and families that are here to save humanity and uplift humanity and raise the consciousness of humanity. And so those galactics, I feel like, are seeing what's really going on more than we are, for sure. And they're about ready to rally rally for us. And so I think that's why contact is happening more. I think a lot of intuitive psychics, channels, and just people in general that are waking up are having way more memories of ET contact, way more interest in it, way more dreams and visions of it and experiences with it. And that just means that our cosmic consciousness and humanity is awakening, and contact with our cosmic families and cosmic selves are manifesting. And so we get to get excited for that. And we also get to observe and not obsess about what's going on with AI and the Space Force and what may be really going on underneath everything that we're being told. So pay attention to that too. And I am doing readings on current events now. So I plan to pick some current events that are centered around this stuff too, so I can do some actual readings to talk about this and pull some cards on it to see what the guides have to say for us as well. So we'll do that as well. But please keep commenting on this reading and the last reading I did last week. Any current events that you want me to read with my cards or intuitively, because I really think that that's a big thing that I've been called to. I talked to you all about that last week, as a way for me to get back into really feeling into the energy of current events, and also for me to really share a lot more of my intuitive perspective and voice on current events that are happening in a more specific way. All right. So the last message before we get into the astrology and just touch on this Taurus new moon a little bit is, what do you have? I invite you to ask yourself, what do you have? Be grateful and step into an energy of gratitude for what you have, and acknowledge what you have. Even if it's not a lot, even if you don't think it's much, acknowledge what you have, because you have something. Even if it's just love in your heart, even if it's just the intention to feel good, even if it's just the hope that things will be okay. Like, honor what you have, because the more you honor what you have and step into that gratitude, the more you can get through any dark nights of the soul, any of these things of, looping experiences, and any of the shadow work that we're going through. So this week's shadow work, this will be our segue into the new moon in Taurus. This week's shadow work is about addressing and facing our fears, okay? Taurus is a bold and courageous energy. It is also an energy that is gentle and can sometimes be very graceful. But when it's riled up, right, it's bold and it's big and it's palpable, okay? So we feel this energy of facing our fears in a big, bold way, and that can be really palpable as well. But we have to awaken our Taurus energy with this new moon to help us to overcome our fears that are coming up with the shadow work of the Pluto retrograde that I talked about last week, and just the shadow work of this year. And Taurus is really going to help us with that, okay? So the first thing that Tauruses are best at, and this Taurus new moon is on Tuesday, the 11th, the best thing they're good at is being patient. They're really good at being patient, and they know the value of being patient. And so this is a big message for the Taurus new moon. Be patient. Take your time with things. Know that things are going to take time. You're not going to get that instant validation or gratification right away. But if you can keep working at it and stay consistent, you will reach the other side. You will see the magic. You will see the reward. So be patient with that and persevere. Persevere. Keep pushing forward. Be determined and relentless in your desire to keep moving forward. This energy will allow you to really help you set plans for manifestation of physical things, material things, because Taurus is an earth sign, and it's the first earth sign in the astrological chart. And they're really, really great at focusing on luxury in the physical world and manifesting it through their desire for it and their intention for it. So we have a lot of opportunity to do that. So we have a lot of opportunity and energy to face our fears and overcome it with a bold and courageous energy, and to stand strong in that. And then we also have this amazing opportunity to manifest a luxurious life and physical material desires, and to make plans to have those things. So that's exciting if you're maybe planning to get a house, or if you're maybe planning to get an increase in income. At least this is a great time to ask for that, or start making the plan to make that happen, okay? And then the last thing about this facing your fears part is look at your fears. Look at them and face them. Really acknowledge them. Don't hide or don't pretend like they're not there. Don't ignore them. Choose the bold new ways that you want to address them. Choose the bold new ways that you're going to fight them when they show up. And choose to see them differently. Choose to know that your capacity to handle your fear is always expanding every time you learn more about your fear. So you can look at it a completely different way and feel stronger and stronger every time a fear shows up, instead of feeling more overcome by it or disempowered by it. So look at your fears differently. Look at them with a different perspective and have patience and perseverance to manifest desires for this new moon in Taurus, okay? Now, I know I'm keeping it super simple for the new moon in Taurus on Tuesday night, and that is because I'm going to be doing a full-on reading on Mini Reading Monday tomorrow on my OnlyFans to talk more about the Taurus new moon and to prep you more with a full-on card reading for the rest of the week and the Taurus new moon. So if you're not familiar with my Mini Reading Mondays, I go on my OnlyFans page and I do about a 10-minute or less video of all these messages so that you can always go back throughout the week, or if you miss a weekly reading and you don't have time to watch the full hour readings like these are, you can just go to the Mini Reading Monday and watch a quick 10-minute video that covers all of these in a really brief and quick way. And then I also like to pull a little more cards just to add a little bit more to the energy of the reading and to see if there's anything else that we missed from either readings, okay? So I'll be adding a Taurus new moon reading to my Mini Reading Monday this week on OnlyFans. So make sure you follow me at Rissa Vibes on OnlyFans. My subscription is free and most of the posts that I post are free. I just ask for donations if you can, but it's not obligated, just very, very appreciated. Yeah. All right. That's it. That's all I have today. So let's go ahead and pull cards and finish it out. We'll pull a card for the beginning of the week, middle of the week, and the end of the week. Plus we'll pull a new moon in Taurus card just to complete this reading. Taking a couple deep breaths and just if there's anything that you really want answers on this week, ask your guides to bring you a sign through these cards, and they will do that. They will absolutely do that. And we got 2 cards for the middle of the week. I had my listening party the other night for my new album, Hippie Vixen, and I got to share quite a few songs off the new album with everyone who joined, and it was so amazing and activating and powerful. We had amazing plant-based food catered. We had an amazing DJ, so many people in the house. It was just great. And I just want to remind everybody, you're going to get a lot of BTS and a lot of music sneak peeks and music video releases on my OnlyFans as well over the next month, because my album drops on June 6th. On all streaming services, and in between time I'm going to be releasing all the fun stuff that you want to see and all the teasers and all the access to the singles a little bit early. So please make sure to plug in, because if you're really craving some Rissa Vibes music, you can get it already right here, right now on my OnlyFans. I've already done a little sneak peek of some of the music and the beats on one of the lives I did, and just a whole bunch of stuff. So check it out, okay? Just check it out. All right, let's see what we have for this week. Oh, and I have to pull the moon card real fast. So, wow, this is a powerful energy. Okay. They're like, what is it, Rissa? What is it? Okay. Had to get that new moon energy up there. All right. First card of the week, decision. Decision. This is us really tapping into our ability to make decisions and how we are going to choose our experience moving forward. So if you've been conflicted on something or unsure about something, or you've just noticed that you've been really indecisive, it's time to focus on your relationship with making decisions and to really feel into what you want and what you're needing. And if what you want and what you're needing is available to you, and it's one of those, and it's in one of the decisions you have to make that decision. right? And if you're still not sure, take the time to learn about your human design, because you can learn about that. And when you find out your inner authority, it can really help you in how to make decisions best for you. And so I encourage you, use the human design model for your decision making if you're stuck in trying to make a decision and you just don't know how best to do it. That's going to be important for the beginning of the week, okay, right away this week. Got to make the decisions. Next cards, middle of the week, Serenity and Soulmate. Wow. There is a peace that is ready to be experienced in your soulmate relationships. Now, soulmate relationships, they can be divine love relationships or romantic relationships, but they can also be friendships. There can also be family relationships. They can also be business partnerships. The people that you feel like you have been connected to on a soul level in different lives before, and that you've been connected on a soul level in this life. Those are your soulmates. And so there is a peace there for you, a serenity there. And so if you're going through something, if you feel like you're in turmoil at any time, reach out to your soulmates and find peace with them. Lean into that support, and also be that support for them. Be the peace that your soulmates need so that they can be the peace that you need. And when you can do that for each other, you know, having that unconditional compassion and unconditional love and showing up for people the way that you want them to show up for you, when you can do that, you really get to access the serenity in your soulmate relationships. And everything really mends itself when you get that serenity. So use that in the middle of the week. And then the end of the week card, the Hanged Man, the Hanged Man. And so this is us waiting. We're waiting in limbo. We're waiting for what's next. We're wanting to know what's next, and we're kind of frustrated and feeling stuck and unsure and a little bit upside down and confused towards the end of the week, okay? But in that confusion, and when we just kind of hang there and let ourselves relax and surrender to that moment of being uncertain, or to that moment of not knowing, right? Then we end up finding the wisdom, because we go within and we get the answers, because we are able to sit quietly and stop trying to fight or control things and just surrender and receive the guidance when it comes. So let yourself receive the wisdom and guidance when it comes. If you're feeling a little bit just unsure and stuck and not knowing what to do next, just surrender to it, relax into it, accept it, let it move through you. And when you do, then you will have a light of consciousness, okay? Then you will kind of have a new wisdom show up. And then finally, last but not least, the new moon in Taurus card for this week is Strength. And that makes so much sense, because Tauruses are so strong and they are so good at being bold, being big, being strong, being patient and strong in their patience, and having strength in patience. And it's a really great quality. And so we are being gifted the energy of more strength with this Taurus new moon to get through our Pluto retrograde shadow work and the shadow work of this week and any other things that we're going through. So harness the strength in your experience. And this card says, strength comes from many sources. Staying strong brings confidence, conviction, and a balanced mind, body, and soul. Spirit has its own unique and beautiful way of replenishing your soul with strength on a continual basis. You're never really alone, as we are always with you. Your spirit guides, your higher self, your higher power. You're never really alone. They're always with you. I love you so much. Thank you for joining me today. I hope to see you on my OnlyFans page, where I'll be continually posting more BTS of the other night's party, my listening party, and my music videos, and my new singles and music videos that are going to be dropping soon. So definitely plug into that, and I will see you next week for a brand new live weekly reading right here on my page. Peace.